A billionaire wakes up in a hospital bed alive because a stranger pulled her from a burning car, then vanished. No name, no number, just a wooden pencil left behind. Alexandra Pierce has everything money can buy, but she can't find the man who saved her life. So she does the unthinkable, she becomes someone else. She walks into his world wearing a disguise, falls in love with his broken heart, and discovers that some debts can never be repaid, only lived. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end of this story. And drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel across the world. I didn't save you so you could hunt me down. That's what Ben Carter would have said if Alexandra Pierce had found him that first week. But she didn't. Nobody did. And that's exactly how he wanted it. The morning of the crash, Ben had been driving Jacob to school when he saw the Bentley wrap itself around the oak tree on Route 12. The sound cut through the February cold like a gunshot. Metal screaming, glass exploding, then nothing. The kind of silence that makes your lungs forget how to work. Dad stopped the truck. Ben was already pulling over. He ran. Didn't think, didn't plan, just moved. The front of the Bentley looked like it had been fed through a trash compactor. Steam poured from the hood in thick white clouds, and through the spider-webbed windshield he saw her slumped over the steering wheel. Blood ran down her temple, dark against pale skin. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Nothing. He yanked the driver's door, locked, tried the passenger side, jammed solid, then he smelled it. Gasoline, sharp and chemical pooling under the chassis. "Dad," Jacob's voice cracked high with fear. Ben looked back. His son stood frozen by their pickup, both hands pressed over his mouth. "Stay right there, Jacob, do not move." He grabbed a rock from the roadside and smashed it through the driver's window. Safety glass exploded inward. He reached through, popped the lock, and pulled the door open. The woman's head lolled sideways. Her breathing was shallow rattling. Ben unbuckled her seatbelt, hooked his arms under hers, and dragged her backward out of the car. Her weight was dead and awkward. He stumbled, caught himself, pulled harder. They hit the gravel shoulder, just as orange flames licked out from under the hood. 10 seconds later, the Bentley exploded. The shockwave knocked Ben flat. Heat rolled over them, like a breaking wave. He threw his body over hers, shielding her face from falling debris. Metal rained down. Glass tinkled against asphalt. When he finally looked up, the car was a fireball. He pressed 2 fingers to her throat. Pulse. Thready, but there. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused and glassy. "You're safe," he said, even though his own voice was shaking. "You're gonna be okay." She tried to speak. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Ben stood on legs that felt like water and jogged back to Jacob. His son was crying, face streaked with tears. "Is she dead?" "No, buddy, she's breathing. The ambulance is coming." "You saved her." "I just did what anyone would do." But that wasn't true. 3 cars had already driven past without stopping. The ambulance screamed up 2 minutes later. Paramedics spilled out, surrounded the woman, started barking medical terms Ben didn't understand. A state trooper climbed out of his cruiser and walked over, notebook in hand. "Sir, I need to get a statement from you." Ben was already guiding Jacob toward the truck. "She's breathing. That's all I know." "Sir, you're a witness. I need your name and contact." "I've got to get my son to school." He opened the truck door, lifted Jacob inside, and climbed behind the wheel. "Sir," Ben drove away. In the rearview mirror, the trooper stood in the road arms, spread in disbelief. Jacob twisted in his seat, staring back at the scene. "Dad, why didn't you stay?" "Because we don't need credit for doing the right thing." "But what if she wants to say thank you?" Ben's hands tightened on the wheel. "Then she'll live a good life. That's thanks enough." What Ben didn't know was that the woman he'd pulled from the wreck was Alexandra Pierce, CEO of Pierce Global Arts, a name that moved markets, a face that graced magazine covers, a woman whose jewelry cost more than his garage made in 5 years. What he also didn't know was that she'd remember everything. The smell of motor oil on his jacket, the way his voice stayed calm even while his hands shook, the rough calluses on his palms when he checked her pulse. And she'd remember one more thing. When he dragged her from the car, something had fallen from his shirt pocket, a wooden pencil, worn down to a nub, the eraser chewed off, the kind you'd find in a mechanic's toolbox. The paramedics had picked it up, logged it as evidence. And when Alexandra woke up 3 days later, it was sitting on her hospital nightstand in a plastic evidence bag. Ha! Alexandra opened her eyes to white ceiling tiles and the steady beep of a heart monitor. Her head felt like it had been kicked by a horse. Her ribs screamed with every breath. "Oh, thank God." Margot appeared in her field of vision. Her assistant looked like she hadn't slept in a week. Red eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun. How long was I out? Alexandra's voice came out scratchy. 3 days. You had a grade 3 concussion, 2 fractured ribs, lacerations across your arms and face. Margot's voice broke. The doctor said if you'd stayed in that car another 30 seconds, you'd be dead. Who pulled me out? Margot blinked. What? Someone pulled me out of the car. I remember hands. A voice telling me I was safe. The police report says a man was on scene when the paramedics arrived, but he left before anyone could get his information. Alexandra turned her head, ignoring the spike of pain. The pencil sat on the nightstand, still in its evidence bag. What's that? They said it was found near you. Probably fell out of his pocket. Alexandra stared at it. A cheap wooden pencil, number 2 lead, the paint worn off in places from years of use. Find him. Alexandra, you just woke up from a coma. It wasn't a coma, and I said find him. Margot pulled out her phone. I'll call the investigator. Not the investigator. Use the security team. I want a name by tomorrow. You need rest. Margot. Alexandra's voice went cold. The CEO voice. Find him. Margot nodded and left the room. Alexandra picked up the evidence bag and held it to the light. There were teeth marks on the eraser end. Whoever owned this pencil chewed on it while he worked. She could picture him. Bent over an engine, pencil tucked behind his ear, grease under his fingernails. Someone who worked with his hands. Someone who saved her life and asked for nothing. In her world, that didn't exist, which meant she had to know why. The security report landed on her desk 18 days later. Alexandra had been released from the hospital after a week, spent another week working from home, and was now back in her corner office on the 40th floor of Pierce Tower. Margot set the folder in front of her. His name is Benjamin Carter, age 34, lives in Millbrook, Pennsylvania, population 800 and change. Alexandra opened the folder. The first page was a DMV photo. A man with dark hair, blue eyes, and the kind of face that looked 10 years older than it should. Tired, worn down, but handsome in a way that made something in her chest tighten. She flipped through the rest. Background check, credit report, property records. Benjamin Carter, widower. One dependent, Jacob Carter, age 8. Owner of Carter's Garage on Main Street. No criminal record, no social media presence. No digital footprint at all except utility bills and a business license. Why didn't he stay? Alexandra asked. Margot shrugged. Some people don't want the spotlight. Everyone wants something. Maybe not him. Alexandra stared at the photo. In her world, people climbed over each other to get close to her. They wanted investments, endorsements, connections, a photograph, a quote they could use. But this man had saved her life and disappeared like smoke. She closed the folder. Clear my schedule for the next 2 weeks. What, Alexandra, you have the Tokyo acquisition closing on Friday. Reschedule it. The board meeting is Monday. Tell them I'm recovering. Doctor's orders. Margot's eyes narrowed. What are you doing? I'm going to Millbrook. Why? To say thank you. You could send a check, or flowers, or literally anything that doesn't involve you driving 2 hours into the middle of nowhere. Alexandra looked at her. Would you let it go? Margot hesitated. No, I guess I wouldn't. Then help me pack. Alexandra Pierce arrived in Millbrook on a Tuesday morning wearing jeans she'd bought at Target, a plain gray sweater, and sneakers that cost less than her usual breakfast. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail. No jewelry, no makeup except a little mascara. She looked in the mirror and barely recognized herself. Good. She'd rehearsed the cover story 100 times. Her name was Allie Mitchell. She was a freelance writer from Philadelphia taking a sabbatical to work on a novel. She'd rented a cabin just outside town for the winter. Needed peace and quiet, all lies, but necessary ones. She parked her rental car, a Honda Civic, not the Tesla she usually drove on Main Street, and walked toward Carter's garage. Her heart hammered against her ribs. What was she supposed to say? Thank you for saving my life. That sounded insane. She'd sound insane. The garage sat at the end of the block. Brick building, hand-painted sign, 2 bays, 1 open. A man knelt beside a Chevy pickup, wrench in hand. It was him. Alexandra's breath caught. In person, he looked different than his DMV photo. More real, broader shoulders, grease smudged across his forearm. The sleeves of his work shirt rolled up to his elbows. She walked up to the bay entrance. Excuse me. He looked up, blue eyes, sharp and cautious and tired in a way that made her want to ask what had worn him down so completely. "Help you? My car's making a weird noise. I was hoping someone could take a look." He stood wiping his hands on a red rag. "What kind of noise?" "Like rattling, when I accelerate." "Could be the heat shield, could be exhaust. Bring it around and pop the hood." She did. He leaned over, the engine, tapped a few things, jiggled something else. His movements were efficient, practiced, a man who'd done this 10,000 times. "Heat shield's loose," he said. "I can tighten it in 5 minutes." "Thank you so much." Geek! He nodded and disappeared under the car with a socket wrench. Alexandra stood there feeling like an idiot. This was the man who'd saved her life. She was standing 3 feet away from him, and he had no idea who she was. "You new in town?" His voice came from under the chassis. "Just moved into a cabin nearby. Needed a change of pace." "From where?" "Philadelphia." "Long drive for a heat shield." She forced a laugh. "Small towns feel safer." He slid out from under the car and stood brushing dirt off his jeans. "All set, no charge." "I should pay you." "It's a bolt. Took 2 minutes." "Still." "It's fine." A boy appeared in the doorway of the garage office. Maybe 8 or 9. Same dark hair, same blue eyes, skinny arms, and a Spider-Man t-shirt. "Dad, I finished my math worksheet." "Good job, Jacob. Go grab a granola bar." The boy looked at Alexandra, curious. Then he smiled and disappeared back inside. "Your son?" she asked. "Yeah?" "He's sweet." Ben didn't respond. Just wiped his hands on the rag again and walked back toward the Chevy. Alexandra climbed into her car, hands shaking. She'd done it. She'd met him, spoken to him, and he didn't recognize her. She started the engine and pulled away, glancing in the rearview mirror. Ben stood in the bay entrance watching her go. Something about his expression made her stomach twist. He looked lonely. Alexandra came back 3 days later with a squeaky brake. "Passenger side front," she said. "It sounds like a dying seagull." Ben smiled. It was small, barely there, but real. "I'll take a look." This time she stayed while he worked. Leaned against the workbench, watched him pull the wheel and inspect the caliper. "How long have you had the garage?" she asked. 10 years. Bought it from the guy who taught me everything I know about engines." "You like it? It's honest work." He said it like that mattered, like honesty was a rare thing. "Do you ever get bored?" she asked. "Same cars, same problems." He glanced at her. "Every car's different, every problem's a puzzle, and every person who walks through that door has a story." He turned back to the brake. "So no, I don't get bored." Alexandra felt something crack open in her chest. In her world, people were transactions, meetings, quarterly reports. But to this man, people were stories. "Your brake pads are worn," he said. "I can replace them, but it'll take an hour." "That's fine." "You can wait in the office if you want. There's coffee." She followed him inside. The office was small. A metal desk, a filing cabinet, a space heater in the corner. On the desk sat a stack of drawings, crayon and colored pencil, rockets, dinosaurs, a stick figure family. "Jacob's out?" she asked. "Yeah. Kid's obsessed with drawing." "He's good." "He gets it from his mom." The way he said it made her look at him. His face had gone careful, closed off. "She passed 3 years ago," he said quietly. "Cancer." "I'm so sorry." He nodded. Didn't say anything else. They stood there in silence. The space heater hummed. Outside, wind rattled the garage door. "I lost someone too," Alexandra heard herself say. "My dad, 2 years ago, heart attack." Ben looked at her, really looked, and for a second she felt completely exposed. "It doesn't get easier," he said, "but you learn to carry it." She nodded throat tight. An hour later, he finished the brake job. This time, she insisted on paying. He charged her $40. She almost laughed. $40 wouldn't cover the valet tip at the restaurant she'd eaten at last week, but she handed him 2 20s and thanked him. "Come back if you need anything," he said. "I will." And she meant it. Over the next 3 weeks, Alexandra became a fixture at Carter's garage. She came in with a burned-out headlight, a loose side mirror, a tire rotation. Each time, she stayed longer, talked more, learned more. She learned that Ben woke up at 5 every morning to make Jacob breakfast before school, that he coached Jacob's Little League team even though he knew nothing about baseball, that he read to his son every night before bed the same way his own father had read to him. She learned that he was kind in the quiet way, that he listened more than he spoke, that when he smiled, really smiled, it changed his whole face. And she learned that she was falling in love with him. It wasn't supposed to happen. She'd come to thank him, to understand him, to maybe write a check and return to her real life. But the more time she spent in Millbrook, the less her real life felt real. One Friday afternoon, Jacob ran out of the office with a piece of paper. "Allie, look what I drew." It was a picture of a tree, bright green leaves, a tire swing hanging from one branch, 3 stick figures underneath. "That's me and Dad," Jacob said, pointing. "And that's you." Alexandra's throat went tight. "It's beautiful, Jacob." "You can keep it." "Really?" "Yeah, I'll make Dad another one." She took the drawing and folded it carefully. That night, back at the cabin, she pinned it to the wall above the kitchen table. For the first time in years, she felt like she belonged somewhere. "Hey, Allie?" She looked up from her coffee. Ben stood in the doorway of the garage, 2 mugs in his hands. "Thought you might want one. It's freezing." "Thanks." He handed her a mug and sat on the workbench beside her, steam curled between them. Outside, snow fell in lazy spirals. "Can I ask you something?" Ben said. Her stomach dropped. "Sure. Why'd you really come here?" "What do you mean? Philly's got 100 garages. You didn't need to drive 2 hours for a brake job." She forced a laugh. "I told you, small towns feel safer." "Yeah, you said that." He looked at her. "But I don't think that's the whole truth." Her pulse kicked. "What do you think the truth is?" "I think you're running from something, or someone." She stared into her coffee. "Maybe I am." "You don't have to tell me what it is," he said quietly. "But if you ever want to, I'm here." She looked at him. His face was open, honest, no agenda, no angle. And that's when she realized he didn't see Alexandra Pierce, billionaire CEO. He saw Allie Mitchell, a woman who was broken in the same way he was. "Thank you," she whispered. He nodded, sipped his coffee. They sat there in comfortable silence, watching the snow fall. And Alexandra thought I could stay here forever. That night, Jacob invited her to Friday chili. "Dad makes the best chili in the world," Jacob said, bouncing on his toes. "Please say you'll come. Please, please, please." Ben looked embarrassed. "Jacob, she's probably busy." "I'd love to," Alexandra said. Jacob fist-pumped the air. Ben tried not to smile and failed. Their apartment was above the garage, small, 2 bedrooms, furniture that looked like it had been picked up at yard sales. But it was clean, warm. The walls were covered in Jacob's drawings. Ben served chili in mismatched bowls. It was good, really good, rich and smoky with just enough heat. "Told you?" Jacob said, grinning. After dinner, Jacob pulled out his colored pencils. "Will you draw with me?" "I'm not very good," Alexandra said. "That's okay. Dad's terrible." Ben smirked from the kitchen. "Love you too, bud." They sat at the table and drew. Jacob sketched a spaceship. Alexandra drew a bird. Ben attempted a car that looked more like a potato with wheels. Jacob laughed so hard he fell off his chair. Later, Ben walked Alexandra down to her car. The night air bit cold. Above them, stars burned bright and hard. "Thank you for coming," Ben said. "Jacob really likes you. I like him too. And I like you." Her breath stopped. "I know that's probably weird to say," Ben continued. "We barely know each other, but I haven't felt like this since Emily died, and I thought you should know." She wanted to tell him the truth, wanted to say, "I'm not who you think I am. I'm the woman you saved. I've been lying to you since the beginning." But she didn't. Instead, she kissed him. He froze for half a second. Then his hand came up to cup her face, and he kissed her back. Slow, careful, like he was afraid she might disappear. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he whispered. "Okay?" And she meant it. For 3 weeks, Alexandra lived in a dream. She and Ben fell into an easy rhythm. She'd come to the garage in the mornings, bring coffee. Sometimes she'd help with oil changes or tire rotations. He taught her how to read engine codes. She taught Jacob how to draw perspective. They ate dinner together most nights, sometimes chili, sometimes spaghetti. Once they attempted tacos and ended up ordering pizza after the shells caught fire. Jacob called her Allie, but sometimes when he was sleepy, he'd say Mom by accident. And every time, Ben's face would do something complicated. One night, after Jacob went to bed, Ben took her hand. "I need to tell you something," he said. Her heart stopped. "Okay." "I haven't been with anyone since Emily, haven't even thought about it. But with you, I feel like I can breathe again." He squeezed her hand. "I know we haven't been doing this long, but I'm falling for you, Allie, hard." Tears burned her eyes. "I'm falling for you too." Yeah. He kissed her, soft and sweet and full of promise, and Alexandra thought this is what love is supposed to feel like, but in the back of her mind a voice whispered, "You're living a lie, and lies always come out." She pushed the voice away. Just a little longer, she told herself, just a little longer, and I'll tell him the truth. The truth found her first. It came in the form of a text from Margot at 2 in the morning. "Call me. Now? Emergency." Alexandra climbed out of Ben's bed in his apartment where she'd been spending most nights, and stepped into the hallway. She called. Margot picked up on the first ring. "Someone sold a photo of you to the tabloids." Alexandra's blood went cold. "What? You in Millbrook, at the garage, with the mechanic and his kid." Margot's voice was tight. "It's already online. TMZ picked it up an hour ago. Now everyone's running it." "How?" "I don't know. Someone recognized you, someone with a camera phone and a need for cash." Alexandra sank against the wall. "What's the headline?" "Billionaire, CEO slumming it, Alexandra Pierce hides in small town after near-death crash." She closed her eyes. "Send me the link." "Alexandra." "Send it." The link came through 10 seconds later. She opened it. The photo was grainy but clear. Her standing outside the garage. Ben's hand on her lower back. Jacob laughing at something she'd said. Below the photo, sources say Pierce has been living under an assumed name in Millbrook, PA for over a month. The man pictured is Benjamin Carter, the Good Samaritan who pulled her from a burning vehicle in early February. Pierce never publicly acknowledged her rescuer or offered compensation. Instead, she went undercover to what playhouse? Our sources say Carter has no idea who she really is. Alexandra's hands shook. It was over. Everything was over. She walked back into the bedroom. Ben was still asleep, one arm thrown over his face. She stood there looking at him, memorizing every detail. Then she packed her bag and left. Kunk. Ben found out at 6:30 in the morning. He'd woken up to an empty bed and figured Allie had gone back to the cabin. But when he checked his phone, he had 17 missed calls. 9 from numbers he didn't recognize. 8 from the Millbrook Sheriff's Office. Then he saw the news alert. Billionaire CEO hiding in small town after crash. He clicked it. The photo loaded. And Ben's world tilted sideways. That was Allie. His Allie. Standing outside his garage with his son. Except the article called her Alexandra Pierce. He read the whole thing twice. Then he read it again. The woman he'd saved. The woman he'd pulled from the burning Bentley. The woman he'd thought about for weeks after the crash, wondering if she was okay. She'd been here the whole time. She'd lied to him. She'd lied to Jacob. She'd made them believe she was someone else. Ben's hands started shaking. He stood, pulled on jeans, and walked down to the garage. His phone kept ringing. He ignored it. At 7, a news van pulled up outside. A reporter climbed out, microphone in hand. "Mr. Carter, can we get a statement?" Ben walked back inside and locked the door. Jacob appeared at the top of the stairs. "Dad? Why are there people outside?" Ben looked at his son. 8 years old. Still in his Spider-Man pajamas. A kid who'd already lost his mother and didn't deserve to lose anyone else. "Go pack a bag, bud." "Why?" "We're leaving." "Leaving? But what about Allie?" Ben's jaw tightened. "She's not coming." "Why not?" "Because she lied to us." Jacob's face crumpled. "No, she didn't." "Jacob." "You always say people make mistakes." Jacob's voice broke. "You always say we forgive people because that's what good people do." "This is different." "How?" Ben didn't have an answer. Alexandra stood outside Ben's apartment at 8 in the morning. She'd driven back from the cabin. She had to explain. Had to try. She knocked. No answer. She knocked again. "Ben, it's me. Please open the door." The door opened, but it wasn't Ben. It was an older woman. Gray hair. Kind face. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Ben Carter. He left about an hour ago. Took his boy and a couple suitcases." Alexandra's heart dropped. "Did he say where he was going?" "Nope, and didn't look like he wanted to be followed neither." The woman closed the door. Alexandra stood there in the hallway, staring at the worn carpet. He was gone. She'd driven him away. She pulled out her phone and called him. Straight to voicemail. She texted. No response. She tried again, and again, and again. Nothing. That night she sat in the cabin and stared at Jacob's drawing on the wall. The tree. The tire swing. The 3 stick figures. She'd told herself she was protecting them by lying. But the truth was, she'd been protecting herself, because for the first time in her life, someone had seen her as just a person. Not a name, not a fortune, just Allie. A woman with a broken heart trying to find her way, and she'd destroyed it. She pulled the drawing off the wall and held it to her chest. Then she cried until there was nothing left. Ben drove for 6 hours before stopping. They ended up in a motel outside Pittsburgh. 2 beds, a TV that only got 3 channels. Jacob sat on his bed clutching his backpack, staring at nothing. "Can I call Allie?" he asked quietly. "No." "Why not?" "Because she's not who we thought she was." "But she's still Allie." Ben looked at his son. "What do you mean?" "She's still the person who taught me to draw shadows. She's still the person who made you smile again." Jacob's eyes filled with tears. "She's still Allie, even if her name's different." Ben sat down hard on the bed, out of the mouths of babes. He pulled Jacob into a hug. "I don't know how to forgive her, bud." "You could try." Ben closed his eyes. Maybe Jacob was right? Or maybe Ben was just scared. Because if he let Alexandra back in, if he forgave her, then he'd have to admit something terrifying. That he loved her. And love in Ben's experience always ended in loss. The motel room smelled like stale cigarettes and cleaning solution that didn't quite mask the stale cigarettes. Ben lay awake at 3 in the morning, staring at the water stain on the ceiling, listening to Jacob's breathing from the next bed. Even. Steady. The kid had finally cried himself to sleep around midnight. Ben's phone sat on the nightstand. Dark. Silent. He'd turned it off 6 hours ago after the 100th call from reporters wanting a statement, wanting to know how it felt to be the Billionaire's charity case, wanting to know if he'd known all along who she was. He hadn't turned it back on. Didn't want to see her name in his notifications. Didn't want to read whatever explanation she'd typed out with her perfectly manicured fingers in whatever penthouse she'd fled back to. Except her fingers weren't manicured. They'd been bare, a little rough around the edges. She'd gotten a paper cut last week helping Jacob with an art project, and Ben had kissed it without thinking. He rolled over and squeezed his eyes shut. Stop it. Stop remembering. But his brain wouldn't cooperate. It kept replaying moments. The way she laughed at Jacob's terrible knock-knock jokes. The way she'd learned to change oil without complaining about the grease. The way she'd kissed him in the snow like she'd been waiting her whole life to do it. Had any of it been real, or had she just been playing dress-up, slumming it with the poor widower and his kid for a few weeks before going back to her real life? Ben sat up, walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on his face. In the mirror, he looked like hell. Dark circles, 2 days of stubble, eyes that couldn't decide if they wanted to be angry or heartbroken. He chose angry. Anger was easier. He dried his face and walked back to bed. Tomorrow they'd keep driving. Maybe head to his brother's place in Ohio. Maybe just keep moving until the story died down and they could go home. If home even existed anymore. Because the apartment above the garage didn't feel like home now. It felt like a crime scene. The place where he'd been stupid enough to fall in love with a woman who didn't exist. He lay back down, closed his eyes, and dreamed of fire and pencils and a woman who tasted like lies. 3 days later, Ben's phone rang at 6 in the morning. He'd finally turned it back on the night before. Immediately regretted it. 247 missed calls. 318 text messages. His voicemail was full. He'd deleted everything without reading it. But this call wasn't from a reporter. It was from Tom Holloway, the sheriff back in Millbrook. Ben answered. "Yeah?" "Ben, thank God. Where are you?" "Why?" "Because half the town's been looking for you and the news vans are still parked outside your garage." "I'm not coming back, Tom." "I'm not asking you to. I'm calling because someone broke into your place last night." Ben sat up fast. "What?" "Kicked in the door, tore through everything. I think they were looking for something to sell to the tabloids. Photos, documents, whatever." "Did they take anything?" "Hard to say without you here, but they made a mess." Ben looked at Jacob still asleep in the other bed. "I can't come back right now." "I know, but I wanted you to hear it from me first." Tom paused. "Also, that woman keeps showing up at the garage." Ben's chest tightened. "What woman?" "Don't play dumb. Alexandra Pierce. She's been coming by every day asking if I've heard from you. Tell her to stop." "I did. She doesn't listen." then arrest her for trespassing. Ben, I mean it, Tom. I don't want to see her. I don't want to hear from her. I don't want anything to do with her. Silence on the line. Then Tom sighed. All right, I'll tell her. Thanks. Ben hung up and threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. Jacob stirred. Dad, go back to sleep, bud. But Jacob sat up, rubbing his eye. Was that about Allie? Don't call her that. But that's her name. No, it's not. Her name's Alexandra, and she's gone. Jacob's face did something complicated. You're being mean. Excuse me. You told me when people hurt us, we're allowed to be sad, but we're not allowed to be mean. Ben stared at his son, 8 years old and already wiser than him. I'm not being mean, Ben said. I'm being smart. It doesn't feel smart. What does it feel like? Jacob pulled his knees to his chest. Like you're scared. Ben opened his mouth, closed it. Couldn't argue. Because the kid was right. He was terrified. Terrified that if he let Alexandra back in, she'd leave again. Or worse, she'd stay, and he'd spend the rest of his life wondering if she was only there out of guilt. Come on, Ben said, standing. Let's get breakfast. They ate at a diner down the road. Pancakes for Jacob, coffee for Ben. Neither of them said much. Halfway through the meal, Jacob looked up. Can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think Mom would want you to be happy? Ben's throat closed. What? Mom, do you think she'd want you to be alone forever? I'm not alone. I have you. You know what I mean. Ben set down his coffee, looked at his son, really looked. When had Jacob gotten so grown up? Yeah? Ben said quietly. I think your mom would want me to be happy. Then why are you running away from someone who makes you happy? Because she lied to us. So you lied to me about Santa for 8 years, and I still love you. Ben choked on his coffee. That's different. How? Because Santa's not real. And Allie is. Ben didn't have a response to that. They finished breakfast in silence. Paid the bill, walked back to the motel, and Ben thought maybe I'm not running away from her. Maybe I'm running away from myself. Alexandra stood outside Carter's garage for the 9th day in a row. The place was locked. Dark. Crime scene tape still stretched across the apartment door upstairs where someone had broken in. She'd driven here every morning since Ben left. Sat in her car. Waited. Hoped. He never came. Sheriff Holloway had told her to stop. Told her Ben didn't want to see her. Told her she was making things worse. But she couldn't stop, because this was her fault, all of it. She pulled out her phone and tried calling Ben again. Straight to voicemail. She didn't leave a message. She'd already left 43. A knock on her car window made her jump. An older woman stood outside. Gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses. The same woman who'd answered Ben's door the day he left. Alexandra rolled down the window. Can I help you? You're her, the billionaire. Yes. Thought so. The woman crossed her arms. I'm Dorothy. I run the diner across the street. Nice to meet you. No, it's not. You don't want to meet me, and I don't particularly want to meet you. Alexandra blinked. Okay. But I'm here anyway because I've been watching you sit in this car every morning for over a week, and I'm tired of feeling sorry for you. You don't need to feel sorry for me. Too late. You look pathetic. Alexandra almost laughed. Thanks. You love him. The question hit like a slap. What? Ben, do you love him, or are you just trying to ease your guilty conscience? Alexandra's throat tightened. I love him. You sure about that? Because love isn't something rich people are particularly good at. That's not fair. Fair, Dorothy's eyes flashed. You want to talk about fair? That man lost his wife 3 years ago, spent every day since then holding himself together for his son. Then you show up, lie to him, make him fall for you, and disappear the second things get hard. I didn't disappear. He left. Because you broke his trust, and trust for a man like Ben is everything. Alexandra looked away. I know. Do you? Because sitting in a car outside a locked garage doesn't exactly scream, I'm willing to fight for a fifth fight for him. What am I supposed to do? He won't answer my calls. He won't see me. He's gone, and I don't know where he is. Dorothy studied her. You really don't know? No. Good. That means he doesn't want you to know, which means if you actually love him, you'll respect that. So I should just give up. I didn't say that. I said respect his space. There's a difference. Alexandra wiped her eyes. I don't know how to fix this. Maybe you can't. Maybe you broke something that can't be fixed. That's not helpful. I'm not here to be helpful. I'm here to tell you the truth. Dorothy softened slightly. But if you really love him, you'll prove it. Not with money, not with grand gestures, with patience, with action, with showing up even when he's not there to see it. I am showing up. I've been here every day. Showing up for yourself, that's guilt, not love. If you want to show up for him, figure out what he actually needs. Then do it, even if he never knows. Dorothy turned and walked back toward the diner. Alexandra sat in the car, hands shaking. Figure out what he needs. She pulled out her phone and called Margot. Tell me you're coming back, Margot said immediately. The board is losing their minds. Stock prices are down. We've got 3 acquisitions in limbo. I need you to do something for me. Alexandra, find out who broke into Ben's apartment and pay them off, whatever it takes to get back anything they stole. Silence, then, why? Because he needs his home back, and I'm going to give it to him. You can't fix this with money. I'm not trying to fix it. I'm trying to help. Another pause. Okay, I'll make some calls. And Margot, thank you. She hung up and stared at the garage. Dorothy was right. She couldn't force Ben to forgive her. Couldn't buy his trust back with a check. But she could do something. She could protect what mattered to him, even if he never knew. 4 days later, Ben's phone rang again. Tom Holloway. Again? Ben almost didn't answer, but Jacob was watching him with those knowing 8-year-old eyes, so he picked up. What now? Someone paid to fix your apartment. Ben froze. What? New door? New locks. Cleaned the whole place. Even replaced the furniture that got broken. Who, anonymous donor. But the contractor said a woman arranged everything. Didn't give a name, just paid cash and asked that it be done before you got back. Ben closed his eyes. Tom, I know you don't want to hear it, but she also hired private security to watch the place. And she got the news vans to leave. Don't ask me how, but they're gone. Ben sat down hard on the motel bed. She'd fixed it, without asking, without demanding gratitude, without making it about her. Ben, you still there? Yeah, I'm here. I think you should come home. I can't. Why not? Because I don't know what to say to her. Then don't say anything. Just come home. Figure out the rest later. Ben looked at Jacob. His son was pretending to watch TV, but clearly listening to every word. All right, we'll come back. He hung up. Jacob turned off the TV. We're going home. Yeah, bud, we're going home. Is Allie gonna be there? I don't know. Do you want her to be? Ben stood, started packing their bags. I don't know that either. But he was lying. He knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted her to be real. Wanted the past few months to mean something. Wanted to believe that the woman who'd learned to change oil and eaten chilly dinners and kissed him in the snow wasn't just a character Alexandra Pierce had invented to ease her conscience. He wanted Allie Mitchell to exist, even though she didn't. They drove back to Millbrook the next morning. The closer they got, the tighter Ben's chest became. By the time they pulled onto Main Street, he could barely breathe. The garage looked the same, but different. Cleaner. The windows had been washed. The sign had been repainted. He parked, got out, unlocked the bay door. Inside, everything was exactly as he'd left it. Tools organized, floors swept. The Chevy pickup still up on the lift? He walked upstairs. The apartment door was new, solid oak. He unlocked it and stepped inside. The place was spotless. New furniture, new curtains. Jacob's drawings were still on the walls, carefully preserved. On the kitchen table sat a note. Ben picked it up. I can't fix what I broke, but I can make sure you have a home to come back to. I'm sorry, A. He read it 3 times. Then he folded it and put it in his pocket. Dad, bow. Jacob stood in the doorway. Is Allie here? No, Bud. Are you going to call her? Ben looked at his son. Do you want me to? Jacob nodded. Why? Because you're sad when she's not here, and I'm sad when you're sad. Ben's eyes burned. He pulled Jacob into a hug. I love you, kid. I love you too. They stood there for a long time. Then Ben pulled out his phone. He opened his messages, scrolled through the ones he'd deleted, found her number. His thumb hovered over the call button. What was he supposed to say? I forgive you. He didn't. Not yet. I miss you. He did, more than he wanted to admit. Come back. He wanted to. God, he wanted to, but he was still scared. Before he could talk himself out of it, he typed, "Thank you for fixing the apartment." He hit send. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, a message came through. "You're welcome. I'm glad you're home safe. Nothing else, no begging, no explanations, just acknowledgement." Ben stared at the screen. Then he typed, "Can we talk?" The dots appeared again. Stayed for a long time, then whenever you're ready. "I'm not going anywhere." Ben set the phone down. He wasn't ready yet. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but eventually, because Jacob was right. He was sad when she wasn't here, and life was too short to be sad. 3 weeks passed. Ben and Jacob settled back into their routine. School, garage, dinner, homework, bed. But something was missing. Every time Ben walked into the apartment, he expected to see her sitting at the table with coffee and a smile. Every time Jacob drew a picture, he'd ask if they could show it to Allie. Every time Ben lay in bed at night, he reached for a warmth that wasn't there. He hadn't called her, hadn't texted again, but he thought about it every single day. Then one afternoon, Dorothy walked into the garage. "Ben Carter, you're an idiot!" Ben looked up from an engine. "Good afternoon to you too, Dorothy." "Don't good afternoon me. That woman is still in town." His heart kicked. "What?" "Alexandra. She's been living in that cabin for 3 weeks. Drives into town once a day for groceries. Otherwise just stays out there, alone." "How do you know?" "Because I pay attention, which is more than you're doing." Dorothy. "She loves you, and you love her, and you're both sitting around feeling sorry for yourselves instead of talking like adults." "She lied to me." "So what? You think you've never lied? You think you've never made a mistake?" Ben set down his wrench. "It's not that simple." "It's exactly that simple. You're just scared." "Of course I'm scared. She's a billionaire. I'm a mechanic. She lives in penthouses. I live above a garage. What kind of future does that have? The kind where you love each other and figure it out." Dorothy stepped closer. "Emily wouldn't want you to be alone." Ben's jaw tightened. "Don't bring Emily into this." "Why not? She was my friend too, and I know exactly what she'd say if she were here. She'd tell you to stop being a coward and go get the woman you love." "You don't know that." "I do, because she told me 3 years ago when she was dying. She made me promise to kick your ass if you ever tried to stay alone forever." Ben looked away. Dorothy softened. "You deserve to be happy, Ben, and so does Jacob. And whether you want to admit it or not, that woman made you both happy." She turned and walked out. Ben stood there, hands shaking. Then he pulled off his work gloves and grabbed his keys. Alexandra sat on the cabin porch wrapped in a blanket, watching the sun set through bare trees. She'd been here for 24 days. Margot called every morning begging her to come back. The board had scheduled an emergency meeting. Stock prices were still falling. Competitors were circling. She didn't care. For the first time in her life, the empire she'd built felt meaningless. Because what was the point of having everything if you had no one to share it with? She heard a truck coming up the gravel drive. Her heart jumped, but it was probably just the grocery delivery she'd ordered. The truck pulled into view. Not a delivery truck, Ben's pickup. Alexandra stood, blanket falling to the ground. Ben climbed out. Stood by the driver's door. Just looked at her. She walked down the porch steps. Stopped 10 feet away. "Hi," she said. "Hi." Silence. The wind moved through the trees. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm so sorry. I should have told you from the beginning who I was. I should have been honest. I was scared and selfish, and I hurt you, and I will regret that for the rest of my life." Ben nodded slowly. "Why'd you do it?" "Because for the first time in my adult life, someone looked at me and didn't see my bank account. You saw me, just me, and I didn't want to lose that." "But it wasn't real?" "It was real?" Her voice broke. "I was real. Everything I felt was real. The name was different, but I was still me." "How do I know that?" "Because I'm still here. I could have gone back to Philadelphia weeks ago, back to my company, back to my life, but I stayed, because this is where you are." Ben looked at the cabin, at the rental car, at her. "I don't know how to trust you again, Hauk," he said quietly. "I know, and I don't expect you to, not right away, but I'm asking you to let me try. Let me prove that I'm not going anywhere. Let me prove that what we had was real." He took a step closer. "And what if it doesn't work? What if we try and it falls apart? Then at least we tried. At least we didn't spend the rest of our lives wondering what if." Another step. "Jacob misses you." Her eyes filled. "I miss him too." "And I miss you." A tear slid down her cheek. I miss you so much it hurts. Ben closed the distance between them, reached up, wiped the tear away with his thumb. I'm still scared, he whispered. Me too. But I'm willing to try. She kissed him, hard and desperate and full of 3 weeks of aching. He kissed her back, pulled her close, held her like he was afraid she'd disappear. When they finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. No more lies, he said. No more lies. And you have to tell Jacob the truth, all of it. I will. He kissed her again, softer this time. And Alexandra thought maybe love isn't about being perfect. Maybe it's about being brave enough to try again. They drove back to the apartment together. Ben's truck ahead, Alexandra following in her rental. The sun had set completely by the time they parked on Main Street. The garage was dark except for the light coming from the apartment upstairs. Jacob was up there, waiting. Alexandra's hands shook as she climbed out of the car. Ben walked over and took her hand. He might be angry, Ben said. He might not understand. I know, but he deserves the truth. I know that too. They walked upstairs. Ben unlocked the door. Inside, Jacob sat at the kitchen table doing homework. He looked up and his pencil clattered to the floor. Ali? Alexandra's heart cracked. Hi, Jacob. He jumped out of his chair and ran to her, threw his arms around her waist. She dropped to her knees and hugged him back, tears streaming down her face. I thought you were gone forever, Jacob said into her shoulder. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Ben cleared his throat. Jacob, come sit down. We need to talk. Jacob pulled back, looking between them. Am I in trouble? No, Bud, but Allie needs to tell you something important. They sat at the table, Jacob on one side, Ben and Alexandra on the other. She reached across and took Jacob's hand. There's something I need to explain, she said, and I need you to listen all the way through, okay? Jacob nodded, eyes wide. My name isn't Allie Mitchell. It's Alexandra Pierce. He frowned. Like the lady on the news. Yes, I'm that lady. But you said your name was Allie. I lied, and I'm sorry. Jacob pulled his hand back. Why did you lie? Alexandra's throat tightened. Because a few months ago I was in a car accident, a bad one. My car caught on fire and I was trapped inside. Your dad pulled me out and saved my life. Jacob looked at Ben. Dad? Ben nodded. That crash on Route 12, back in February, that was her. But you didn't tell me. I didn't know who she was. She was unconscious when I pulled her out, and I left before the ambulance came. Jacob turned back to Alexandra. So you knew who Dad was? Yes, I found out a few weeks later. I wanted to thank him, but when I came to the garage and met him again, he didn't recognize me. And I realized that for the first time in a very long time, someone was looking at me like I was just a normal person. Not someone famous, not someone rich, just me. So you pretended, yes? That's lying. I know. Lying is bad. Dad says lying breaks trust. Alexandra nodded, wiping her eyes. Your dad is right, and I broke his trust. I broke your trust, and I'm so sorry. Jacob sat back in his chair. His face was doing something complicated, hurt and confused and angry all at once. Did you like us? He asked quietly. Or were you just pretending about that too? Oh, Jacob. Alexandra's voice broke. I liked you so much. I still do. Everything I felt was real. The name was fake, but my feelings weren't. I love spending time with you. I love your drawings. I love how smart and kind you are. None of that was pretend. Then why didn't you just tell us the truth? Because I was scared. I thought if you knew who I really was, you'd treat me differently, or you wouldn't want to be my friend anymore, and I was being selfish because I wanted to keep you and your dad in my life. Jacob looked at Ben. Are you still mad at her? I was, for a while. Are you now? Ben hesitated. I'm hurt, but I'm trying to forgive her. Do you love her? Ben's eyes met Alexandra's across the table. Yeah, I do. Jacob nodded slowly, picked up his pencil, drew a small circle on his homework paper. I'm mad at you, he said to Alexandra. I know, but I don't want you to go away again. I won't, not if you'll let me stay. You have to promise, no more lies. I promise, no more lies, ever. Jacob drew another circle. Okay. Okay? You can stay, but you're on probation. Alexandra almost laughed through her tears. What's probation? It's when someone does something bad, but they get a second chance. We learned about it in social studies. You have to prove you're good again. How do I do that? Jacob thought for a moment. You have to come to my baseball game next week, and you can't leave early even if it's boring. Deal. And you have to help Dad fix Mrs. Henderson's car. She's been waiting 3 weeks. I can do that. And you have to tell me about your real job, because I saw you on TV and they said you're in charge of a whole company. That's pretty cool. Alexandra smiled. I'd love to tell you about it. Jacob stood up, walked around the table, hugged her. I'm still mad, he said into her hair. But I missed you. She held him tight. I missed you too. That night after Jacob went to bed, Ben and Alexandra sat on the couch. Not touching, a careful distance between them. Thank you for letting me explain, she said. He needed to hear it from you. Do you think he'll really forgive me? Kids are better at forgiveness than adults. Give him time. She nodded, looked at her hands. What about you? What about me? Do you think you'll forgive me? Ben leaned back, stared at the ceiling. I want to, but I don't know how to get past the fact that everything was built on a lie. Not everything. The feelings were real. But how do I know that? How do I know you're not just here out of guilt? Because I'm still here. I could have left weeks ago, but I stayed because I can't imagine my life without you and Jacob in it. He looked at her. Your company's falling apart. Margot told me. She called last week trying to find you. You talked to Margot? She was worried. Said the board wants to remove you as CEO. Alexandra shrugged. Then let them. You don't mean that. I do. I've spent 15 years building that company. And for what? So I could have a bigger office, more money I'll never spend. I was miserable, Ben. Lonely. Empty. Then I met you and Jacob, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I mattered for something other than my net worth. You can't throw away everything you've built. I'm not throwing it away. I'm choosing something more important. What if you regret it? What if I don't? He didn't have an answer for that. They sat in silence. The refrigerator hummed. A car passed by outside. I'm scared, Ben said finally. Of what? That this is temporary. That you'll wake up one day and realize you miss your old life. The galas, the power, the world you came from. I won't. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because I've lived that life. And it was killing me. Slowly. Every board meeting, every business dinner, every fake smile. I was dying inside and I didn't even realize it until I came here. Ben turned to face her. What do you want, Alexandra? I want you, I want Jacob, I want Friday night chili and terrible drawings and oil changes. I want a life that means something. And you think you can have that here in Millbrook population 800? I know I can if you'll let me. He reached over, took her hand. It's not going to be easy. I know. People are going to talk. They're going to say I'm using you for your money. Let them talk. And you're going to have to get used to small town life. No fancy restaurants, no 5-star hotels. Good. I hated those places anyway. He smiled, just a little. You're crazy. Probably. He pulled her closer, kissed her forehead. I'm still scared. Me too. But I want to try. So do I. They held each other, and for the first time in weeks, Ben felt like he could breathe again. The next morning, Alexandra woke up on the couch. Ben had covered her with a blanket sometime during the night. The apartment smelled like coffee and bacon. She sat up. Her back ached. Her neck was stiff. She'd never slept on a couch before, at least not since college, and it was perfect. Ben appeared from the kitchen. Morning. Morning. You didn't have to let me sleep. You looked peaceful. Figured you needed it. She stood folding the blanket. What's the plan today? Work. I've got 3 cars backed up, and Mrs. Henderson's been calling daily about her Buick. Jacob said I'm supposed to help with that. You don't have to. I want to. I'm on probation, remember? He smiled. All right, but you're doing the oil change on the Honda first. Deal. They worked side by side all morning. Ben showed her how to diagnose Mrs. Henderson's transmission problem. Alexandra got grease under her fingernails and didn't complain. When Jacob got home from school, he did his homework in the office while they finished up. It felt normal, easy, right. Around 5, Ben's phone rang. He looked at the screen and frowned. Who is it? Alexandra asked. Tom Holloway, the sheriff. He answered. Hey, Tom. Alexandra watched Ben's face change. Concern, then alarm. When? Ben asked. How bad? A pause. We'll be right there. He hung up. What happened? Alexandra asked. There was an accident at the school playground. A kid fell off the monkey bars. They think it's Jacob's friend, Marcus. Is he okay? They don't know yet. Ambulance is taking him to County General. Alexandra grabbed her keys. Let's go. You don't have to. Ben, let's go. They picked up Jacob from school and drove to the hospital. The waiting room was full of parents and kids. Marcus's mom, Sarah, stood by the nurse's station crying while her husband held her. Jacob ran to them. Is Marcus okay? Sarah wiped her eyes. We don't know yet, sweetie. The doctors are with him now. Ben walked over, put a hand on her shoulder. What happened? He fell, hit his head. He won't wake up. Alexandra felt her chest tighten. She knew that fear, the helpless terror of watching someone you love slip away. Can we do anything? Ben asked. Pray, Sarah said. Just pray. They sat in the waiting room for 2 hours. Jacob leaned against Alexandra, quiet. Ben paced. Other families came and went. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Finally, a doctor emerged. Henderson family. Sarah and her husband jumped up. That's us. Marcus is stable. He has a concussion and a fractured arm, but he's going to be fine. He's awake and asking for you. Sarah sobbed with relief. Her husband hugged her. Jacob jumped up. Can I see him? Let his parents go first, bud, Ben said. They waited another hour before Sarah came back out. He's asking for Jacob. Jacob ran down the hallway. Ben and Alexandra followed. Marcus lay in a hospital bed, left arm in a cast, grinning despite the bandage on his forehead. Dude, I flew like 10 feet. That's so cool, Jacob said. Does it hurt? Not anymore. They gave me the good stuff. The boys launched into an animated discussion about the accident. Ben and Sarah stepped into the hallway. Alexandra stayed by the door watching Jacob. He was holding Marcus's good hand, telling him about a drawing he'd made. Just being there for his friend. Her phone buzzed. Margot. Again. She stepped into the hallway and answered. What? Alexandra, thank God, the board meeting is tomorrow. You have to be there. I can't. You don't understand. They're voting on your removal. If you're not there to defend yourself, you're done. Then I'm done. You can't be serious. I am. Margot, I appreciate everything you've done, but I'm not coming back. You're throwing away your entire career for a mechanic in the middle of nowhere. Alexandra looked through the window at Ben. He was talking to Sarah, his face kind and open. Then she looked at Jacob, still holding his friend's hand. Yeah, she said, I am. You've lost your mind. Maybe, but I found something more important. She hung up. Ben walked over. Everything okay? Yeah, everything's perfect. The next morning, Alexandra drove to Philadelphia. She'd told Ben she needed to take care of some business. He'd offered to come with her. She'd told him to stay with Jacob. Truth was, she needed to do this alone. She walked into Pierce Tower at 9. Security tried to stop her. She pulled out her ID badge, still active, and swept past them. The elevator ride to the 40th floor felt like traveling to another planet. Expensive suits, Bluetooth earpieces, everyone staring at their phones. 3 months ago, this had been her world. Now it felt alien. Margot was waiting at her office door. You came. I came. The board meeting starts in an hour. I know, I'm not going. Margot's face fell. Alexandra. I'm not going to fight them. If they want me gone, they can have the company. You don't mean that? I do. Schedule a press conference for this afternoon. I'm announcing my resignation. You can't. I can, and I am. Alexandra walked into her office, started packing her personal items into a box. Photos, awards, a glass paperweight her father had given her. Margot followed her. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Figure it out as I go. That's not like you. Maybe the old me, but I'm different now. Because of him? Because of me. He just helped me see it. She finished packing. Took one last look around the office. 15 years of her life contained in one cardboard box. And she didn't feel sad. She felt free. The press conference was a circus. Cameras, reporters, questions shouted over each other. Alexandra stood at the podium and smiled. 3 months ago, I nearly died in a car accident. Someone I'd never met pulled me from a burning vehicle and saved my life. That experience changed me. It made me realize that success isn't measured in stock prices or quarterly earnings. It's measured in the relationships we build and the lives we touch. Effective immediately, I'm resigning as CEO of Pierce Global Arts. I'm stepping down from the board, and I'm donating my majority shares to the employees of this company, the people who actually make it run. The room exploded with questions. She ignored them all and walked out. Margot caught up with her in the parking garage. That was insane. That was overdue. What are you going to do now? Go home. To Millbrook. Yeah. Margot shook her head. I think you're crazy, but I also think you're the happiest I've ever seen you. Alexandra hugged her. Thank you for everything. Stay in touch. Always. She drove back to Millbrook. It took 2 hours. The whole way she felt lighter, like she'd been carrying a weight her entire life and finally set it down. When she pulled up to the garage, Ben was outside working on a truck. He looked up and smiled. How'd it go? I quit. He set down his wrench. What? I resigned, gave away my shares. I'm done. Alexandra. Don't tell me I made a mistake. Don't tell me I'll regret it, because I won't. He walked over, took her hands. I was going to say I'm proud of you. Her eyes filled. Yeah, that took guts. I'm terrified. Good. That means it mattered. He kissed her, right there in front of the garage, right there where anyone could see, and Alexandra thought this is what home feels like. That night, the three of them had dinner together. Spaghetti, garlic bread. Jacob told them about his day at school. Ben talked about a particularly stubborn carburetor. Alexandra told them about the press conference. So you're not a CEO anymore? Jacob asked. Nope. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. Maybe I'll work at the garage. Ben choked on his water. What? You need help. Mrs. Henderson's car took 3 weeks to fix. Imagine what you could do with an extra set of hands. You want to be a mechanic? I want to be useful, and I'm pretty good at oil changes now. Jacob grinned. That would be so cool. Ben looked at her like she'd grown a second head. You're serious? Completely. You're going to go from running $1 billion company to changing oil in Millbrook, Pennsylvania. Yes. Why? Because I'd rather spend my days with you and Jacob than in a boardroom with people I don't care about. Ben set down his fork, stood, walked around the table, pulled her up and kissed her. Jacob made a gagging sound. Gross. They both laughed. 2 weeks later, Alexandra officially started working at Carter's garage. She showed up every morning at 7, wore coveralls with her name stitched on the pocket, learned how to do brake jobs and transmission flushes and diagnostic tests. She was terrible at it. But she got better every day. The town gossip was relentless. Everyone had an opinion. Some people thought she was crazy. Some thought Ben was using her. Some thought it was the most romantic thing they'd ever seen. Dorothy was in the last camp. Told you she loved you, she said to Ben one afternoon. You were right. I'm always right. You should remember that. Alexandra became a fixture in Millbrook. She shopped at the local grocery store, went to Jacob's baseball games, had coffee with the other garage regulars at Dorothy's diner, and slowly people stopped seeing her as the billionaire who gave it all up. They started seeing her as Allie, Ben's girl, Jacob's friend, the woman who worked at the garage and always had grease under her nails. 1 month after she quit, Ben proposed, not with a fancy ring or a grand gesture, just the two of them, late at night, sitting on the couch after Jacob had gone to bed. Marry me, he said. She looked at him. What? Marry me. I know it's fast. I know we're still figuring things out, but I don't want to wait. I don't want to wonder. I want you forever. Yes. 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 1,000 times yes. He didn't have a ring. They'd figure that out later. Instead, he pulled the wooden pencil from his pocket, the one that had fallen from his shirt the day he saved her life, the one she'd kept in the evidence bag, the one he'd found on her nightstand the night she told Jacob the truth. I want you to have this, he said. Ben, it's not a ring, but it's the thing that brought us together, and I want you to keep it. She took the pencil, turned it over in her hands. It's perfect. He kissed her, slow and sweet and full of promise. And Alexandra thought some love stories start with fire. This one started with ashes. And somehow we built something beautiful. They told Jacob the next morning over pancakes. We have some news, Ben said, setting down the syrup. Jacob looked up, mouthful. What kind of news? Good news. Ali and I are getting married. Jacob's eyes went wide. He swallowed hard. Really? Really? Alexandra said. For a moment, Jacob just stared. Then he jumped out of his chair and threw his arms around both of them. Does this mean Ali's going to be my mom? Alexandra's throat closed. She looked at Ben. He nodded. "If you want me to be," she said carefully, "I want you to be. I've always wanted you to be." She pulled him close, his tears streaming. "Then I'm your mom." Jacob squeezed tighter. "Can I be in the wedding?" Ben laughed. "Of course you can. Can I wear a tuxedo?" "You can wear whatever you want, bud." Jacob pulled back, grinning. This is the best day ever. They finished breakfast in a happy blur. Jacob talked nonstop about the wedding, what kind of cake they'd have, whether they could get a DJ, if he could invite his whole class. After he left for school, Ben and Alexandra sat at the table nursing coffee. "That went well, Sumnei," Ben said. "Better than I expected." "You okay?" She nodded. "I'm terrified and happy, and I can't believe this is real." "Welcome to the club," she laughed, reached across the table for his hand. "When should we do it?" "The wedding." "Yeah, big ceremony? Small courthouse." Ben thought for a moment. "Small? Just family and close friends. I don't want a circus." "Me neither. What about here at the garage?" He raised an eyebrow. "The garage? Why not? It's where we met. It's where we fell in love. It feels right." "You want to get married in a mechanic shop. I want to get married wherever you are." He stood, walked around the table, pulled her up and kissed her hard. "Have I mentioned I love you, Cock? Not in the last 5 minutes." "I love you." "I love you too." They spent the next 2 weeks planning. Alexandra called Margot, who screamed so loud the phone speaker crackled. Dorothy insisted on catering. The whole town got involved whether they wanted to or not. Mrs. Henderson offered to make the cake. Tom Holloway volunteered to officiate. Sarah Marcus's mom offered to handle flowers. "This is insane," Alexandra said one night, staring at the list of things that needed done. "Small town weddings," Ben said. "Everyone wants to help." "I'm not complaining. It's just different." Different good or different bad? Different perfect. The wedding was set for Saturday afternoon, 3 weeks away, just enough time to get everything ready without losing their minds. But then Tuesday happened. Alexandra was under a Honda changing the oil when her phone rang. She ignored it. It rang again and again. "Someone really wants to talk to you," Ben called from across the garage. She slid out, wiped her hands, and checked the screen. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello. Is this Alexandra Pierce? Who's asking?" "This is Dr. Reston from County General Hospital. I'm calling about Jacob Carter." Her blood went cold. "What happened?" "Jacob collapsed at school. He's being transported here now. We need his guardian present immediately." "I'm on my way." She dropped the phone. Ben was already walking over. "What's wrong?" "It's Jacob. He collapsed. They're taking him to County General." Ben's face drained of color. "What?" "I don't know. They just said to come now." They ran, left the garage unlocked, left tools scattered, jumped in Ben's truck and drove 20 over the speed limit the entire way. Alexandra's hands shook. She kept seeing Jacob that morning. Laughing. Happy. Planning the wedding. How could he be fine one minute and in an ambulance the next? "He's okay," Ben said, but his voice was shaking. "He has to be okay." "He will be." "You don't know that." "I do. He's strong. He's a fighter." Ben's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "If something happens to him, nothing's going to happen." "You can't promise that." "Yes, I can, because I won't let it." They pulled into the hospital parking lot, ran inside. The nurse at the desk directed them to the emergency room. Jacob was already in a bed, pale and small under white sheets. A doctor stood beside him, making notes on a tablet. "Jacob," Ben pushed past the curtain. Jacob's eyes fluttered open. "Dad?" "I'm here, bud. What happened?" "I don't know. I was playing kickball, and then everything got dizzy." The doctor looked up. "You're the parents." "I'm his father. This is my fiancé." "Gee." The doctor nodded. "I'm Dr. Reston. Jacob's vitals are stable now, but we need to run some tests. His heart rate was extremely irregular when he arrived." "His heart," Alexandra's voice cracked. "We're not sure yet what's causing it. Could be stress, could be dehydration, could be something more serious. We've already drawn blood. We're going to do an EKG and possibly an echocardiogram." Ben sat on the edge of the bed, took Jacob's hand. "You're going to be fine." "I'm scared, Dad." "I know, but I'm right here. We both are." Alexandra stood on the other side of the bed, stroked Jacob's hair. "You're going to be okay, sweetheart." The tests took hours. EKG first, then blood work, then the echocardiogram. Ben and Alexandra stayed with Jacob the entire time, holding his hands, cracking jokes to keep him calm. Finally, Dr. Reston returned with another doctor, an older woman with kind eyes and a serious expression. This is Dr. Patel. She's a pediatric cardiologist. Alexandra's stomach dropped. Cardiologist, heart specialist. Dr. Patel pulled up a chair. Jacob, can you give us a few minutes to talk to your parents? I want them to stay, Jacob said. It's okay, bud, Ben said. We'll be right outside. No, I want to hear. Ben looked at the doctors. Dr. Patel nodded. All right, Jacob, you have something called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a condition where part of your heart muscle is thicker than it should be. It makes it harder for your heart to pump blood. Jacob frowned. Is that bad? It can be serious if we don't treat it, but we caught it early, which is good. How do you treat it? Ben asked. His voice was barely steady. Medication first. Beta blockers to help regulate his heart rate. If that doesn't work, we may need to consider surgery. Surgery? Alexandra felt the room tilt. It's a possibility, not a certainty. Let's start with medication, sit, and see how he responds. Ben's hand tightened on Jacob's. How did this happen? He's been fine his whole life. HCM is often genetic. It can go undiagnosed for years. Sometimes it's triggered by stress or physical exertion. The collapse today was likely caused by an arrhythmia and irregular heartbeat. Can he die from it? Jacob asked quietly. Dr. Patel met his eyes. If left untreated, yes, but we're going to treat it. You're going to take medicine every day. You're going to come see me regularly, and we're going to keep you healthy. Can I still play baseball? We'll have to evaluate that. For now, no strenuous activity until we get your heart rate stable. Jacob's face crumpled. But the season just started. I know it's hard, but your health is more important than baseball. They admitted Jacob overnight for observation. Ben refused to leave. Alexandra went home to grab clothes and toiletries, then came right back. That night, they took turns sleeping in the chair beside Jacob's bed. Every time a monitor beeped, they both jerked awake. Every time a nurse came in to check vitals, they held their breath. Around 3 in the morning, Jacob woke up crying. Dad? Ben was at his side immediately. What's wrong? Are you hurting? I'm scared. I know, bud. What if the medicine doesn't work? What if I need surgery? Then we'll deal with it, together. But what if something bad happens? Alexandra moved to the other side of the bed, took his hand. Nothing bad is going to happen. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because your dad and I are going to make sure you get the best care possible. We're going to fight for you every single day. Promise? Promise. Jacob wiped his eyes. I don't want to die. Ben's face cracked. He pulled Jacob into his arms. You're not going to die. You hear me? You're going to grow up and graduate high school and go to college and do amazing things. This is just a bump in the road. A big bump. Yeah, a big bump. But we're going to get through it. Alexandra climbed onto the bed, wrapped her arms around both of them, and they stayed like that until Jacob fell asleep again. They brought Jacob home 2 days later with a prescription and strict orders. No running, no sports, no stress. Follow-up appointment in 2 weeks. The medication made Jacob tired. He slept a lot, lost his appetite, stopped drawing as much. Ben tried to hide how scared he was, but Alexandra saw it, in the way he checked on Jacob every 20 minutes, in the way he couldn't sleep, in the way his hands shook when he thought no one was looking. 1 week after the diagnosis, Ben broke. It was late. Jacob was asleep. Alexandra found Ben in the garage sitting on the floor with his back against the workbench, head in his hands. Ben? He didn't look up. She sat beside him. Talk to me. I can't do this. Yes, you can. No, I can't. His voice broke. I already lost Emily. I can't lose him too. You're not going to lose him. You don't know that. The doctor said medication might not be enough. He might need surgery, and even then... He couldn't finish. Alexandra took his face in her hands, made him look at her. Listen to me. Jacob is going to be fine. The doctors caught it early. He's young. He's strong. He's going to beat this. But what if he doesn't? Then we'll deal with it. But we're not there yet. Right now, he needs us to be strong. He needs us to believe he's going to be okay. Ben's eyes filled. I'm so scared. I know, so am I, but we're in this together. You don't have to carry it alone anymore. He pulled her close, held her like she was the only thing keeping him upright. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you too." They sat there on the cold garage floor until Ben's breathing steadied, until the panic passed, until he could stand again. The follow-up appointment came. Dr. Patel ran more tests, checked Jacob's heart rate, listened to his breathing. "The medication is working," she said. "His heart rate is much more stable." Ben sagged with relief. "So he's okay?" "He's responding well. We'll need to continue monitoring him, but this is good news." "Can he play baseball again?" Jacob asked. Dr. Patel smiled. "Let's give it another month. If your numbers stay stable, we can talk about light activity." Jacob grinned. "Yes." Walking out of the hospital, Alexandra felt like she could breathe again. Ben looked 10 years younger. Jacob bounced on his toes despite the doctor's orders to take it easy. "Can we get ice cream?" Jacob asked. "You can have anything you want," Ben said. They went to Dorothy's diner, ordered sundaes with extra whipped cream. Dorothy came over personally to deliver them. "Heard you had a scare," she said to Jacob. "Yeah, but I'm okay now." "Course you are. You're a Carter. Carters don't go down easy." Jacob beamed. After they finished, Ben pulled Alexandra aside. "We need to postpone the wedding." Her heart sank. "What?" "Why?" "Because Jacob needs to focus on getting better, and I need to focus on him. We can't plan a wedding right now." "Ben, the wedding is in 2 weeks. Everything's already set up." "I know, but Jacob needs normal. He needs something to look forward to. If we postpone, he's going to think something's wrong." Ben hesitated. "You sure? Positive. Besides, he's been planning his tuxedo for weeks. You want to disappoint him?" Ben looked at Jacob, who was showing Dorothy a drawing he'd made. "No, I don't." "Then we're getting married in 2 weeks." He kissed her. "How'd I get so lucky? You pulled me out of a burning car." Best decision I ever made. The week before the wedding reality hit, Alexandra woke up at 2 in the morning in a cold sweat. She'd been dreaming about the ceremony, about standing in front of people, about being Alexandra Pierce again instead of just Ali. What if someone showed up from her old life? What if reporters crashed the wedding? What if Ben's friends and family treated her differently once they remembered who she really was? She got out of bed, walked downstairs, made tea she didn't drink. Ben found her 20 minutes later. "Can't sleep. Just thinking. About everything. The wedding. Jacob. Whether I'm making a huge mistake." He sat beside her. "You're not." "How do you know, Carl?" "Because I know you, and I know us, and I know this is right." "But what if—" "No what ifs. We've had enough of those. We're doing this. You and me. Forever." She leaned against him. "I'm scared." "Me too, but the good kind of scared." "Is there a good kind?" "Yeah, the kind that means it matters." She kissed him. "I love you." "Love you too. Now come back to bed. We've got a wedding to survive." Saturday arrived faster than seemed possible. The garage had been transformed. White chairs in neat rows, flowers everywhere. Lights strung overhead. Dorothy had outdone herself with the food. Sarah had created centerpieces that looked professional. Alexandra stood in the apartment bathroom staring at herself in the mirror. She wore a simple white dress. Nothing fancy, no designer label, just a dress she'd found at a boutique in town. Margot had driven down that morning, knocked on the door at 7 with coffee and bagels. "You look beautiful," Margot said now, zipping up the back. "I look terrified." "Same thing on a wedding day?" "What if I mess this up?" "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because I've known you for 10 years, and I've never seen you this happy. That man down there loves you. That kid loves you. You're not messing anything up." Alexandra turned, hugged her. "Thank you for being here." "Wouldn't miss it, even if you did quit your job and move to the middle of nowhere." "Best decision I ever made." "I know. Doesn't mean I have to like it." They laughed. Downstairs, Ben stood at the makeshift altar trying not to throw up. Tom Holloway officiating clapped him on the shoulder. "Breathe, Ben." "I'm breathing." "You look like you're going to pass out." "I might." Jacob appeared in his tuxedo. He looked so grown up it made Ben's chest ache. "Dad, you okay?" "Yeah, bud, just nervous." "Why you love Allie?" "I do." "Then what's the problem?" "No problem, just big moment." Jacob straightened Ben's tie. "You're going to be great." Music started, some song Sarah had picked out. The small crowd stood. Then Alexandra appeared at the top of the stairs, and Ben forgot how to breathe. She was beautiful. Not magazine beautiful, not billionaire beautiful, just Ali beautiful. The woman who changed oil and made terrible coffee and loved his son like her own. She walked down the stairs, walked through the garage, walked toward him. When she reached the altar, he took her hands. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi." Tom cleared his throat. "We're gathered here today to witness the marriage of Benjamin Carter and Alexandra Pierce." A few people in the crowd shifted. Alexandra tensed. Ben squeezed her hands. "It's okay." Tom continued. "Marriage is a partnership, a promise to stand together through good times and bad, through sickness and health, through fear and joy. Ben and Alexandra have already proven their commitment to each other. They've faced challenges that would break most couples, but they're still here, still choosing each other." Alexandra's eyes filled. "Ben, do you take Alexandra to be your wife, to love and cherish from this day forward?" "I do, absolutely." "Alexandra, do you take Ben to be your husband, to love and cherish from this day forward?" "I do." "The rings." Jacob stepped forward with 2 simple gold bands. They'd picked them out together, nothing fancy, just solid and real. Ben slid the ring onto Alexandra's finger. "I promise to love you, to support you, to choose you every single day for the rest of my life." Alexandra slid the ring onto Ben's finger. Her voice shook. "I promise to love you, to stand beside you, to build a life with you that matters more than anything else in the world." Tom smiled. "By the power vested in me by the state of Pennsylvania, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Ben, kiss your bride." Ben pulled Alexandra close and kissed her. The crowd cheered. Jacob whooped. Dorothy cried. And Alexandra thought, this is what home feels like. This is what love is supposed to be. This is where I belong. The reception was perfect. Dancing in the garage. Cake that was actually good. Toasts that made everyone laugh and cry. Jacob gave a speech about how Ali was the best mom ever, and he was glad his dad finally figured it out. Dorothy told embarrassing stories about Ben as a kid. Margot got drunk and told everyone how Alexandra used to be terrifying in board meetings, but now just looked happy. Around midnight, most people had left. Jacob had fallen asleep on the couch upstairs. Ben and Alexandra stood in the empty garage, holding each other, swaying to music only they could hear. "We did it," Alexandra said. "We did. I'm married to you. You sound surprised." "I am, in the best way." He kissed her forehead. "Any regrets?" "Not a single one. You. Only that I didn't find you sooner." "You found me exactly when you were supposed to." "Yeah, I guess I did." They stood there wrapped in each other, the garage quiet around them. Outside, Millbrook slept. Inside, 2 broken people had somehow built something whole. "I love you," Ben whispered. "I love you too." And somewhere in the pocket of Ben's discarded jacket, a wooden pencil lay forgotten. The thing that had started everything. The small piece of ordinary that had changed 2 lives forever. Neither of them needed it anymore. They had each other, and that was enough. The honeymoon lasted exactly 3 days before reality crashed back in. They decided to stay local. Rented a cabin 2 hours north, just the 2 of them. Jacob stayed with Dorothy, who spoiled him with pancakes and let him stay up past his bedtime. On day 3, Ben's phone rang at 6 in the morning. Dorothy. His stomach dropped before he even answered. "Ben, don't panic." "What happened?" "Jacob woke up with chest pain. I called an ambulance. We're at County General." Ben was out of bed before she finished the sentence. "We're on our way?" They threw clothes in a bag, drove 90 the whole way back. Alexandra white-knuckled the door handle, but didn't say a word about the speed. At the hospital, they found Jacob in the same emergency room as before. Same bed, same monitors beeping. Dorothy sat beside him, holding his hand. "Hey, bud," Ben said, trying to keep his voice steady. Jacob looked small and scared. "Dad, it hurt really bad, like someone was squeezing my chest." "Shit." Dr. Patel appeared before Ben could respond. "We're running tests now. His EKG shows some irregularities. I've called in a cardiac surgeon for consultation." "Surgeon?" Alexandra's voice cracked. "Let's not jump ahead, but we need to be prepared for all possibilities." The test took 4 hours. Every minute felt like drowning. Ben paced. Alexandra sat rigid in a plastic chair. Dorothy went to get coffee no one would drink. Finally, Dr. Patel returned with another doctor. Younger, serious expression. "This is Dr. Kim. He's one of the top pediatric cardiac surgeons on the East Coast." Dr. Kim shook their hands. Jacob's medication isn't controlling his arrhythmia as well as we'd hoped. The chest pain indicates his heart is struggling. I recommend surgery within the next week." The room tilted. Ben grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. "What kind of surgery?" "A septal myectomy. Will remove part of the thickened heart muscle that's obstructing blood flow. It's a complex procedure, but I've performed it dozens of times. The success rate is high." "How high?" Alexandra asked. "Over 90%. "And the other 10%? Dr. Kim met her eyes. "There are always risks with open heart surgery. Infection, bleeding, complications from anesthesia, but leaving it untreated is riskier. Without surgery, Jacob could have a cardiac arrest." Ben felt like he'd been punched. "When?" "I have an opening Thursday, 4 days from now." "That fast?" "The sooner the better. His heart is already showing strain." Ben looked at Jacob through the window. His son was drawing on a tablet a nurse had given him, trying to be brave. "Okay," Ben said. "Thursday." Dr. Kim nodded. "We'll schedule it. A nurse will go over pre-op instructions with you." After the doctors left, Ben and Alexandra stood in the hallway. Neither spoke for a long time. "He's going to be okay, come," Alexandra said finally. "You keep saying that. Because it's true." "You don't know that." Ben's voice rose. "You can't promise that." "Yes, I can. How can you possibly promise that my son isn't going to die on an operating table?" People in the hallway turned to look. Alexandra pulled him into an empty consultation room. "Listen to me," she said. "I know you're scared. I'm terrified too, but Jacob needs us to believe he's going to make it. He needs us to be strong." "I don't know if I can do this." "Yes, you do, because you're his father, and fathers don't give up." Ben sank into a chair, put his head in his hands. "What if I lose him?" Alexandra knelt in front of him. "Then you'll have me, and we'll get through it together, but that's not going to happen. Jacob is going to have surgery, he's going to recover, and he's going to grow up and live a long, full life." "How are you so sure?" "Because I refuse to believe anything else, and you need to refuse it too." Ben looked at her, eyes red, face drawn. "I can't lose another person I love." "You won't. I promise you won't." She pulled him close. Let him fall apart in her arms. Let him cry for the first time since Emily died. And she held him until he could breathe again. They told Jacob that night. Tried to make it sound routine. Simple, no big deal. Jacob saw right through it. "Am I going to die?" "No, Cal," Ben said firmly. "You're going to be fine." "But it's open heart surgery. That's serious." "It is serious, but Dr. Kim is the best. He's done this surgery 100 times. "What if something goes wrong?" Alexandra sat on the edge of the bed. "Nothing is going to go wrong." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do, because you're strong and brave, and you're going to fight." Jacob's eyes filled. "I don't want to fight. I just want to be normal." "I know, sweetheart, and after the surgery you will be. You'll be able to play baseball again, run around with your friends, do everything you want to do." "Promise?" "Promise." Jacob wiped his eyes. "Can you stay with me until the surgery?" "We're not going anywhere," Ben said. They slept at the hospital that night, and the next night, and the night after that, taking turns in the chair beside Jacob's bed, holding his hand when he had nightmares, reading to him when he couldn't sleep. On Wednesday night, the night before surgery, Jacob couldn't settle. "Dad, yeah, bud. If something happens tomorrow, nothing's going to happen. But if it does, I want you to know I'm not scared anymore." Ben's chest tightened. "You're not." "No, because even if I die, I got to have you as my dad, and I got to have Ali as my mom, and that's more than some kids get their whole lives." Alexandra covered her mouth to stop the sob. Ben pulled Jacob into his arms. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me. You know that you're the best thing that happened to me too." They held each other, and Ben thought, this can't be goodbye. It can't be. Thursday morning arrived too fast. The nurses came at 5 to prep Jacob for surgery, inserted an IV, gave him medication to calm him down, explained what would happen when he woke up. Jacob listened quietly, nodded at the right times, squeezed Ben's hand when they said the surgery would take 6 to 8 hours. At 7, they wheeled him toward the operating room. Ben and Alexandra walked beside the gurney as far as they were allowed. At the double doors, they had to stop. Jacob looked up at them. "I love you guys." "We love you too," Ben said. His voice broke. "So much. I'll see you when I wake up." "We'll be right here, I promise." Alexandra leaned down, kissed Jacob's forehead. "You're going to do great. We'll be waiting for you." The doors swung open. They wheeled Jacob through, and then he was gone. Ben stood there staring at the closed doors. His legs felt like water. His chest felt like someone had carved it open. Alexandra took his hand. "Come on, let's go to the waiting room." The waiting room was painted cheerful colors that felt like a mockery. Bright yellow walls, children's paintings, a TV playing morning news no one watched. They sat. Ben stared at the clock. Alexandra held his hand. Dorothy arrived at 8 with coffee and muffins. Tom Holloway came at 9. Sarah and her husband showed up at 10 with Marcus, who'd made Jacob a get-well card. "He's going to be okay," Marcus said. "Jacob's tough." "Yeah," Ben managed. "He is." Margot drove up from Philadelphia at 11, brought magazines and a stress ball and a determination to keep everyone's spirits up. "He's in good hands," she kept saying. "Best surgeon on the East Coast." Ben nodded. Didn't speak. Couldn't. The hours crawled. Every time someone in scrubs walked by, Ben's heart stopped. Every time a door opened, he looked up, expecting news. Nothing. At hour 5, Ben started pacing. Couldn't sit still. Couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. Alexandra followed him into the hallway. "Talk to me." "I can't do this." "Yes, you can." "He's been in there 5 hours. What if something went wrong? What if—" "Stop. Don't go there." "I can't help it." His voice rose. "My son is on an operating table. They cut open his chest. They're operating on his heart. How am I supposed to just sit here? Because that's what parents do. We wait, we hope, we believe. What if believing isn't enough?" "It has to be, because it's all we have." Ben pressed his palms against his eyes. "I should have protected him better. Should have noticed something was wrong sooner." "This isn't your fault." "Isn't it? I'm his father. I'm supposed to keep him safe." "You did keep him safe. You got him to the hospital. You got him the best surgeon. You're doing everything right. Then why does it feel like I'm failing?" Alexandra pulled him close. "Because you love him, and love makes everything feel bigger, scarier. But it also makes us strong enough to survive this." Ben held on to her like she was the only solid thing in a spinning world. At hour 6, Dr. Kim appeared. Still in his scrubs. Mask pulled down, expression neutral. Ben's heart stopped. "Is he—" "Jacob's in recovery. The surgery went well." The world came rushing back. Sound, color, air. "He's okay." Alexandra's voice shook. "He's stable. We removed the excess tissue causing the obstruction. His heart is pumping more efficiently already." Ben sank into a chair. "Can we see him?" "Soon. He's still sedated, but he should wake up in the next hour or 2. A nurse will come get you when he's ready." "Thank you." Ben stood, shook Dr. Kim's hand. "Thank you so much." "He's a strong kid. He did great." After Dr. Kim left, Ben turned to Alexandra and just broke. Relief and fear and love all crashing together. She held him while he cried, while Dorothy cried, while everyone in the waiting room exhaled for the first time in 6 hours. "He's okay," Ben kept saying. "He's okay." "I told you," Alexandra whispered. "I told you he would be." They brought them to recovery 90 minutes later. Jacob lay in a bed surrounded by monitors. Tubes and wires everywhere. A long incision down his chest covered in bandages. But he was breathing. His heart monitor beeped steady and strong. Ben took Jacob's hand carefully. "Hey, bud. We're here." Jacob's eyes fluttered open. Glassy from medication, but aware. "Dad? I'm right here." "Did it work?" "It worked. You did amazing." "It hurts." "I know. But you're okay. You're going to be okay." Jacob's eyes found Alexandra. "Mom." She moved to the other side of the bed. "I'm here, baby." "I made it." "You did. You're so brave." "Can I have ice cream?" Ben laughed through tears. "You can have all the ice cream you want." Jacob smiled. Then his eyes closed again. The nurse adjusted his medication. "He'll sleep a lot for the next few days. It's normal. His body needs rest." They stayed. Took shifts sleeping in the chair. Held Jacob's hand when he woke up confused. Talked to him about anything and everything to keep his mind off the pain. On day 3, Jacob sat up for the first time. On day 5, he walked 10 feet down the hallway. On day 7, they discharged him with instructions for home care and follow-up appointments. The drive home felt like a gift. Jacob sat in the back seat, still sore but smiling. Ben kept glancing in the rearview mirror to make sure he was really there. At the apartment, Dorothy had prepared the place. Fresh sheets, flowers on the table, a banner that said, "Welcome home, Jacob." "This is too much," Ben said. "Nonsense. The boy deserves a proper homecoming." Jacob settled on the couch with pillows propped behind him. Marcus came over with movies. Sarah brought dinner. The whole town seemed to show up over the next week with food and well wishes and relief that their boy was okay. Recovery was slow. Jacob got frustrated that he couldn't do more, got tired of resting, got sick of being treated like he might break. "I'm fine," he insisted one afternoon. "I can go back to school." "Not yet," Ben said. "Doctor said 2 more weeks." "But I'm bored." "Then draw something. Read a book." "I've drawn everything. I've read everything." Alexandra sat beside him. "What if we worked on a project together?" "What kind of project?" "I don't know. You pick." Jacob thought for a moment. "Can we build something?" "Like what?" "A tree house, in that big oak behind the garage." Ben started to protest. "Jacob, you just had heart surgery." "I'll design it. You guys build it. I'll supervise." Alexandra grinned. "Deal." Over the next 3 weeks, they built a tree house. Jacob drew elaborate plans. Ben and Alexandra did the construction. It was crooked and probably violated several building codes, but it was theirs. The day they finished, Jacob climbed up the ladder slowly. Ben spotted him the whole way. At the top, Jacob stood in the doorway and smiled, bigger than he had in months. "This is perfect." "Yeah?" Ben called up. "Yeah? Can we have dinner up here tonight?" "You want to eat in a tree house?" "Why not?" So they did, carried up sandwiches and chips and lemonade, sat on the plywood floor with legs crossed, watched the sun set through the trees. "This is the best day," Jacob said. "Better than the wedding," Alexandra teased. "Different good. Wedding good was fancy. This good is just us." Ben looked at his family. His son who'd survived. His wife who'd stayed. His life that had almost fallen apart, but somehow held together. "Yeah," he said. "This is pretty good." 2 months later, Dr. Patel cleared Jacob for light activity. 3 months after that, he was back on the baseball field. Alexandra and Ben sat in the stands for his first game back. Jacob played right field. Didn't catch anything, struck out twice. But he played, and he smiled, and he was alive. After the game, Jacob ran over. "Did you see I almost caught that fly ball?" "Almost counts," Ben said. "Next time I'll get it." "I know you will." They walked to the car together. Jacob ran ahead full of energy, like the surgery had never happened. "We did it," Alexandra said quietly. "Did what?" "Survived. All of us." Ben took her hand. "Yeah, I guess we did." That night, after Jacob went to bed, Ben and Alexandra sat on the back steps looking at the treehouse. Lights from inside the apartment spilled into the yard. Somewhere a dog barked. A car drove past on Main Street. "I've been thinking," Alexandra said, "about, everything, the past 6 months. How much has changed?" "Good change or bad change?" "Good. Definitely good." She leaned against him. "I keep thinking about that day on Route 12. If you hadn't pulled over, if you'd driven past like everyone else. But I didn't." "No, you didn't. And that one decision changed everything." Ben kissed her temple. "Best decision I ever made. Even with all the drama, the lies, the hospital visits. Especially with all that, because it brought us here. Here's pretty good. Here's perfect." They sat in comfortable silence. Then Alexandra pulled something from her pocket. The wooden pencil. Worn and old and ordinary. "I found this in your jacket. The one from the wedding." Ben took it, turned it over in his hands. "I forgot about this. It's where it all started. You dropping this at the accident. Me keeping it. Coming to find you. Funny how something so small can change so much. What should we do with it?" Ben thought for a moment. Then he stood and walked to the treehouse. Climbed up the ladder. Alexandra followed. Inside, he pulled out his pocket knife and carved into the wooden wall B+A+J. Below it, he tucked the pencil into a gap between boards. "There, now it's part of the house." "You're keeping it?" "Yeah, as a reminder." "Of what?" "That love isn't always grand gestures. Sometimes it's just showing up, pulling someone out of a fire, changing a heat shield, building a crooked treehouse." He pulled her close. "Sometimes love is just choosing to stay." Alexandra kissed him. "I'll always choose to stay." "Me too." They climbed down together, walked back inside, checked on Jacob one more time. He was asleep, one arm thrown over his head, the other clutching a stuffed bear he'd had since he was 3. "He's really okay," Ben whispered. "He really is." They went to bed. Ben pulled Alexandra against him. She fit perfectly in the curve of his body. "Hey," he said into the darkness. "Yeah, thank you." "For what?" "For not giving up on us, even when I pushed you away." "You didn't push very hard." "Still, thank you for fighting for this. For us." She turned to face him. "You saved my life that day on Route 12, but you know what, I think I saved yours too. How do you figure? You were just surviving, going through the motions, taking care of Jacob, but forgetting to take care of yourself. I gave you a reason to live again." Ben thought about that, about the man he'd been before she walked into his garage, hollow, going through the motions, afraid to feel anything because feeling meant risking loss. "You're right," he said. "We saved each other. Best rescue mission ever." Agreed. They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in years, Ben didn't have nightmares, didn't wake up in a cold sweat, didn't reach for someone who wasn't there, because she was there, and she was staying, and that was everything. The next morning, Jacob came into their room at 7, holding a piece of paper. "I drew something." Ben sat up, rubbing his eyes. "What did you draw, bud?" Jacob held up the picture. 3 figures standing under a tree, the tree house visible in the branches above. Their faces were simple circles with marker smiles. But in the corner, in careful printing, Jacob had written, "My family." "What do you think?" Jacob asked. Alexandra's eyes filled. "I think it's perfect." "Can we put it on the fridge?" "Absolutely." Jacob ran downstairs. Ben looked at Alexandra. "That kid?" "I know." "He's going to be okay." "Yeah, he is. We all are." They got dressed, went downstairs, made breakfast together. Jacob chattered about a project for school. Ben fixed the coffee maker that had been acting up. Alexandra burned the toast and everyone laughed. It was ordinary, simple, nothing special, and it was everything, because 6 months ago Alexandra Pierce had been dying in a burning car. Ben had been dying in a different way. Jacob had been dying without knowing it, but they'd all survived, found each other, built something real. People in town still talked, still whispered about the billionaire who gave it all up for a mechanic, still wondered if it would last. Ben and Alexandra didn't care, because they knew the truth. Love wasn't about money or status or fairy tale endings. Love was showing up, day after day, through fear and joy and everything in between. Love was pulling someone from a fire and staying to help them rebuild. Love was choosing someone, again and again, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. And as they sat at the kitchen table eating burned toast and drinking too strong coffee while Jacob drew another picture, Ben realized something. He'd spent 3 years after Emily died thinking his story was over, that he'd had his chance at happiness and lost it. But he'd been wrong. His story wasn't over. It was just beginning. And this time, he wasn't going to waste a single moment. He reached across the table, took Alexandra's hand. "I love you." She smiled, the real smile, the one that lit up her whole face. "I love you too. Forever. Forever." Jacob looked up from his drawing. "Are you guys being gross again?" "Yep," Ben said. "Good. That means we're a real family." And he was right. They were a real family. Messy and imperfect and held together by love and luck and the simple choice to never give up. Years later, when Jacob was grown and gone, when Ben and Alexandra were old and gray, they'd sit on those same back steps and remember the crash, the lies, the fear, the surgeries, the late nights and hard conversations and moments when everything almost fell apart. But mostly they'd remember this ordinary Sunday morning. Burned toast, bad coffee, a drawing on the fridge. The moment when they finally understood that home wasn't a place. It was people. It was choosing each other. It was showing up even when it hurt. It was love. Simple and strong and real. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything.